So today I have the pleasure of being with Matt Sokol, 2000 world champion Star Wars CCG, and we will get to kind of that journey there. But Matt, thank you so much for agreeing to be here with us today.
Yeah, this is fun.
Absolutely. So, like I did in kind of previous interviews, I kind of want to start backwards in time. I want to start with today and kind of go backwards, and eventually kind of will lead up to kind of Worlds 2000, which is kind of where the premier Death Star 2 format was kind of in its heyday. So, 2025, Matt, how do you feel about Star Wars CCG? What are you playing? What do you think? What do you like? What do you not like? How do you feel about the game today?
I love the game. I think the PC does a phenomenal job, right? Like we get a new set every couple months. I don't keep up with it like I used to. Like I don't play in the OCS. Um, so we just had that big event in Morristown. I played Map of all things, just because I
Mhm.
wanted to have fun. And then I think I was the only person to play Skywalker Saga at the event. Um, But yeah, I love the game. I think they do a great job. They put out new cards. They fix things when they're broken. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about where the game is.
Awesome. I'm really glad. So, how do you feel about the retro format? So, you've joined Andy's Retro League. I guess you'd
This
say
is
you
the,
play open. Yeah, go ahead.
this is the first time I played in his retro league,
Okay.
and it is awesome. Um, it's not really true to like the time in the sense that like what did we play? We played Premiere through Hoth recently. It was one of the I think it was the second one.
Premier Cloud City Modified or what?
The one before that was
Oh,
Premiere through Hoth,
Premier Hope. Premier Hope.
something like that. But like all the decks we build on Gemp have like four Vaders and everything. And like back in the day when we played, we didn't have these cards.
Right.
You know, we used to play like one Vader and then like four Emperor's backs, Empire's backs, things like that.
True.
Um, but yeah, no, the retro league is awesome. It's the most fun I've had with Star Wars recently, for sure.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. So, okay, so that's 2025. You feel good about the game. What
Yeah.
about like the last few years? What about like 2020 through 2024? Were you still playing consistently, less consistently, or how did you feel about what were you doing during that time?
So 2020 to 2024, we had the COVID years in there. So we all played Worlds on Gemp, which was a lot of fun. Um, I haven't traveled in a long time because I had a kid right
Mm,
right in 2020 during the height of COVID. Um, so I've only got to play whenever something's in New Jersey.
okay.
Um, but like you will never catch me saying a bad thing about the game in the PC. Like they just I don't care what they put out. If it's a broken card and everybody hates it, I'll say I love it and
Yeah.
they'll fix it. But I think the game I just think it's great. Like they have these people who volunteer their time. I'm not doing it and we get new stuff every time and all the design development and everything that goes into GIMP. I've never been happier with where the game is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you were inducted the Hall of Fame 2019. What was that like? What led up to that? Did you know ahead of time you're going to be inducted, or like kind of help me understand that aspect?
Um, it's really interesting actually. It was something I always wanted, and it was such a. Um, I think I almost cried. I think there's videos or something. I teared up a little bit. So with the Hall of Fame, there was a short list that was going around, and so I forget who got it before me. Um, but anyway, so like there was a bar for the
Hmm.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then it got very obvious that if they didn't lower the bar, no one else would ever get in.
Okay.
So like the bar was always you need to be like a two-time world champion.
Okay.
Um, and then so like uh, I didn't think they were gonna lower the bar to put me in.
Okay.
So when they did, it was such a phenomenal feeling. Yeah, because what happened was like the bar was it was me and like I don't know if you remember Reed Smith. Remember
Yeah, he
him?
got like second place, I think, during one of
Three
yeah.
times.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, it was three times. He won the MPC twice. It was like me and Reed were right there, and they lowered the threshold to be admitted, and I got in, and it was like, it was just, I can't even put words to it because like the game has meant so much to me, like to just be recognized from the community. It was one of the best days of my life, for sure, in Star Wars, for sure.
That's awesome. So what you got a trophy for that, or you got like a plaque, or like what does that look like?
Do you want to see?
I would love to see it. Can we see it?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
Matthew Sokol. Wow.
yeah. It was awesome.
That's so cool. So, I mean, have you been just playing continuously? Because I mean, my next question is, what were you doing from 2014 through 2019? I mean, have you just like been continuously playing Star Wars, or did you take a break during some years, or how did that go for you?
So Team Albany, who I'm part of, the
Yeah.
guys, the guys we all play with, the guys I all grew up with, we kind of stopped playing. Oh God, I want to say 2023 or 2003, 2004 to like 2010 maybe. We didn't play for 4 or 5 years, or maybe we
Okay.
just played like local stuff.
Okay.
But then after that, um, I played quite a bit. Whenever I think I played in almost every NPC. I was at the first NPC. I can't even remember when that was. 2012? Oh gosh, 2008. I can't even
Yeah.
remember. So I've been playing pretty much continuously outside of that like 5 year stitch where we didn't play, and I made most of the world championships. I missed a bunch when they were like in Minnesota. I've never made it to Euro Worlds. I really want to do that someday. Um, but otherwise, I've kept up on the game, uh, you know, and but outside of that break, I've played pretty much, at least a couple times a year.
That's cool. And is that just because your friends in Albany stopped playing, or you guys needed a break naturally, or family, or work, or college, or things like that?
We were big into. We tried other card games, like we were trying Wars when Decipher put that out,
Hmm.
and then like people got into Raw Deal, and then some people got into minis.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to think. Like, I think also too around that time we were like, we were all like seniors in college, and then I was off in grad school
Right.
after that. You know what I mean? It was like that time period where you're like early 20s, you're trying to like make a career and stuff, and some
Sure.
like stuff goes on the back burner.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's people move. Some of us moved. A couple Team Albany guys moved to California. Um, Johnny Chu was away. Um, yeah, so we all kind of just took a break, but otherwise we've all kept up on it. Especially me, Johnny Chu, and Mike Danboys have all kept up on it the most.
Nice. So what about 2014? So 2014 there was Reset and Open. So I'm assuming you're playing around the time. Any opinions on that
Yeah.
Reset? Good, bad, and different? What was it like before, after, kind of thing?
Um, I can't believe it's been 11 years since the reset, right?
Hmm. Yeah. I'll tell you,
Um,
it's almost as long as pre-reset. Yeah. You know.
yeah, that's crazy. I know it was like controversial at the time. Um, I remember thinking it was a good thing, right? Like I remember the PC. Oh, gosh, you have kids, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Like your brain is just mush when you try to
Of
remember
course.
anything, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I do remember the power creep was pretty bad, like significantly worse than it was at any point in Decipher or in the PC era.
Yeah.
Um, so if I'm remembering, oh my gosh, we had like Luke Strong in the Force was oh man, just I do have some fond memories of certain cards. Um, yeah, I think it was a good thing. It definitely the game needed to slow down. Um, if I had power for a day, I would just have a banned list myself. But the reset kind of served that function. I think it made the game better. At the time, it felt like a step back. At the time, it felt like we had such a pool of cards, and they immediately shrunk it. And it kind of felt slowly like they were bringing, they would pick and choose what they were bringing back slowly. So at the time, I can see how it felt like a step back, but it was probably for the health of the game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one post where I guess there was a tournament, like half the players said they would like a change and half were indifferent, and that was kind of the turning point, So
You know, I talk to people on design, and they can't make everybody happy. You know, like they got to do what they think is right, and I trust them. I
awesome.
don't think we're heading for another reset. I'd be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But Johnny Chu wants a reset, just FYI.
Oh,
Maybe
does he?
different. Yes, he does.
Huh. I would be cute. What do I don't know. I like the game. I like that they errata things a bunch. Um, I wish they would. I really wish they would do a banned list. I think some of the decipher cards, should be banned. Um, I like that they're errating and changing cards regularly. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got rid of like route here V, route to ops V. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of blank things. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And they just, they they do put out a lot of bullet cards. Um, but at the end of the day, whatever they decide, I will cheer them on and say thank you for doing it. And, I'll be playing the next day.
I respect. I respect. Okay, so if we go back in time a little bit towards kind of the end of the Decipher era, Johnny Chu said kind of the writing was on the wall. He didn't know ahead of time, but he said, well, there are so many sets, in 2021 were being released. Did you have a eerie feeling? Did you have any insider knowledge, or I mean,
I
what was
didn't
it
have
like for you?
any
Yeah,
insider knowledge. It was a weird time because after the 2021 Worlds got canceled,
yeah,
right? Because it was 9/11, and then the players had Freedom Con. Um, so it felt like a weird time in the game, and then they were really pushing Lord of the Rings. They had the Lord of the Rings card game was coming out.
yeah.
Um, I think we started to notice a big power creep in the cards. They were getting really out of control. Um, at the end of the Decipher era, the game was not in a particularly great place. It was like pod racing and Senate and combat.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was really sad how it all played out, though. Um, I don't think it was, and I could be wrong, but I think it more had to do with Hasbro, um, or whoever Lucasfilm wanted to give the license to. It wasn't that they thought the Decipher was doing a bad job. It was they just wanted to bring like the license in house or something.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I heard they had the Star Wars TCG, right, which
Right.
Garfield does, and apparently Johnny Chu and Dr. Torch, Paul Todd Feldman kind of went there. They did some play testing
Yep.
for that, and
Yep.
they both basically affirmed they all thought it was bad. They released it anyway,
Right.
and it lasted for 3 years, and then they shut it down. I guess they had their own players committee version for a while. I think they stopped updates a few years ago, for what it is. But yeah, I mean, apparently the maintenance cards were, another controversy. They still hate them to this day. Uh,
Yeah. I don't
Classic
know.
Novi does not have maintenance cards. Only way you get maintenance cards is Decipher cards only, or something, or you do open,
Okay.
whatever, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like the screaming the Lando scoundrel. I
Yes,
mean, that's just he's double played in like any deck that can play him nowadays.
right.
Um, just stuff like that. Blizzard 4. Yeah, I mean that goes back to why I want the ban list.
No, I get you. So now they canceled Worlds 2021. Did you go to this Freedom Con or kind of the replacement or not?
No, so what it was super depressing for me because as part of like winning worlds, I got a trip back like paid for
Mhm.
to Worlds 2021 and then or Worlds 2001 2001 and they canceled it. And so I'm a freshman or junior in college, and like I think my bank account had like $100 in it at that time. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no money, so
Yeah.
I can't fly to wherever Freedom Con was. So I didn't get to play in that one. I did get to play in '02 or 2002. I did not do well. Um, yeah, I mean, it was sad. It was sad to see how it all went down. Um, but you know, the PC is again. I'll only say incredibly positive things. But like the PC has just kept the game, you know, like alive
Sure.
and it's thriving. I mean, I think last time we had Worlds in Morristown, we almost had 70 people at Worlds. It was crazy. Um, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So, okay, so let's go back in time. Let's go back to the beginning. So start of Star Wars. Like, how'd you get into the game at the beginning? What was your kind of origin story for getting into Star Wars at the beginning?
So kind of like how we were talking before the interview started. Like I was playing Magic,
Yeah.
and we were terrible at Magic. So we would go to tournaments and we would lose all our games. And then my friend Mike Danboys showed up one day at our house and was like, "Hey, I like Star Wars. I bought a pack of Star Wars cards. Um, let's play." And then so him, Mike Danboys, myself, and my brother, we probably played by ourselves, just the three of us for a couple months. And then where we grew up had a really, really good local scene. And so they were having tournaments every Saturday. And so I randomly was like, "Hey guys, we got to go see how this game's really played." Um, and so I just went to a tournament, and my first opponent I ever played was Johnny Chu,
Okay.
and he kicked my butt really badly. It's a really funny story because I'm super green at the game, and I'm playing some Dagobah deck, and I show up, and I'm like so excited because I get my one Son of Skywalker in my hand, and I tell Johnny Chu, I'm like, "Dude, I got my best card in my hand," and he's like scanning crew. That he I don't know, he beat me by like 40 cards or something. Um, and then I never stopped. We had such an awesome local scene. I mean, we were playing every Saturday, and it just became my life from like 1997, 1998 all through high school. Like it was all we did. Like you know how some high school people are like, "I'm a football guy" or "I'm a theater kid," or we were just Star Wars kids. It was me, the Mike Danboys, the Terwilligers, Johnny Chu. There were just a bazillion other guys we played with, um, and we just became such a strong group of friends. We're still all friends today.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of how it started. Just started with Mike Danboy showing up with a pack, and then you know, I think we pulled a I think our first main character was a Princess Leia, you
Yeah.
know, and then we just never stopped.
That's awesome. And obviously getting beaten by Johnny Chu, fueled the competitive edge within you. Because some people they get blown out, they rage quit, they don't come back. But you came back, you know.
There's a really funny story about um, with the first time I ever beat Johnny Chu. So we were in a tournament, and I must have lost to him 20 times,
Yeah.
and then I'll never forget. I got paired up with him at a random local, and I played him, and I finally like beat him, and I got so excited. I stood up, okay, and I yelled like, and I was like screaming. I'm like, "It can be done!" And it was really interesting because like everybody else, he was like the unbeatable force,
Uh,
okay. And so I'm like this, 14-year-old kid. It can be done, and everybody's clapping for me. And Johnny Chu's like, "Oh, it pissed me off so much." It was, yeah.
uh, no, it can be very competitive. There's no doubt. I've gotten mad myself online, so I'm sure there's been some ever been flying cards at a tournament, flip tables or.
We were always really civil. We were very competitive. But there's actually a really funny story about a guy who dominates the retro league now.
Yeah.
that many people don't know. But Brad Kipple used
Yes.
to play at our local shop.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Brad, so I think Brad went to University of Michigan, got an engineering degree, and then ended up working for GE. And
Hmm.
GE has a big plant in Schenectady, New York, which is right around there where we were playing. And so you should, if you ever get a chance to talk to him about it, it's really funny. So he told us later, a long time ago, he's like, I looked up all your guys' ratings because this was during the Decipher era. And he's like, oh my, I couldn't wait to move there and play you guys because I would just take all your ratings and I would become like the number one player in the world because, you know, I'm just going to beat you, all you guys. And I think he showed up and, but this is how good, like how competitive and good our shop was. I think he showed up and he dropped like 200 points in rating.
Oh
And
no.
like he was getting beat by like our scrubs for the first like 3 months there because like I can't impress upon people. Like our shop was like every week it was Johnny Chu, Brian Twilliger, Chris DeWilliger, me. Like it was just like some of the best players in the world every weekend at a local just duking it out. Um, yeah, and Brad shows up and it was like I think he went like 1-5 at his first local with us, and like
Mhm.
obviously made him into a phenomenal player eventually out of it.
He does know he's doing very well in the retro league. Yeah, he just won. Yeah, he won the retro CS in 2024. He got #1
Yeah,
there. So yeah, no, very skilled player, no doubt.
yeah, but yeah, he was a low he was at our local. It was
Nice.
wild. It was wild times.
Okay, so you started around 97. So you started in Dagobah, you said, or like what was the remember the set you started with?
New Hope. We
New
had
Hope.
Premiere. No, we started at Premiere. I remember buying New Hope packs when they first came out.
Okay,
Um, yeah, so like 96, 97.
nice. Okay. So 96, 97, you're playing every week. And so how does this translate? Because you said you were at 1998 World. So how did you get there? Like describe that kind of journey to there.
So we're just playing locally, and then all of us, we all just started traveling together. Um, we would caravan to wherever there was a regional. So, oh gosh, the first major tournament we ever played in was in Rochester, New York. And these were big events. These were like these 100 people would show up, and then what would happen is if you won the regional, you got an all expenses paid trip to the World Championship, and that was the only way you could qualify for the World Championship was you had to win a regional or like an open, like Origins at the time or Gen Con or something.
Okay.
Um, so we were traveling, and there was a regional in New York City, and I had never won a tournament at that point in my life because my local was like it was Johnny Chu winning every weekend or Twilliger winning every weekend, and yeah, we drove down to New York City. We were like, oh, let's go we'll all caravan together, go play in the regional, and I wasn't playing Albany guys that tournament, so I went 5-1. I got into the finals and I beat the guy in the finals, and but the first tournament I ever won was a regional in New York City, and then I got I think I was 14 or 15. I don't remember how old I was. 98. Oh, so I would have been 16, 15 or 16. And yeah, I won the regional, got a full trip down to Virginia Beach for the World Championships. It was really funny because my mom had to come with me because I was a minor, you know.
Yeah.
And I have these phenomenal pictures. I think they're so cute now, but like my mom was just so proud of me and she wants to take pictures of me, but I'm like this little 16-year-old kid who like doesn't want to take pictures with his mom at the tournament,
I get it. I get it.
Um, yeah, that was the first time I ever met Hayes Hunter too. We actually had connecting flights in an airport, and I'm like sitting at the gate waiting, looking at my Star Wars cards, and Hayes Hunter comes over. He's like, "Are you going to the World Championships?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Me too."
Nice.
Um, yeah. So that was the operatives world. World Champion.
That was an infamous opera rule, but there's some kind of understanding here. So Johnny Chu didn't go to this New York City Open, and you could have gone to any Open in the United States or the world, basically, or Gen Con, you said, and you just happened to go to the one where Johnny Chu didn't go to, or you just been facing there, or how'd you avoid facing your crew? Like how that
He
happened?
couldn't. It was really funny because he couldn't go. He probably had something like a concert or something he had to or recital in school or something. But I remember him telling me, he's like, "Yeah, I read online who won," and he's like, "And I read your name," and I was like, "Matt Sokol? He's like a scrub at our shop. How does he win the regional?" Um, yeah, but it was the '98 Worlds was really cool. So they kind of used it as like a PR stint because they released special edition for that tournament. So
Mm-hmm.
like leading up to it, they sent us all like a complete set of special edition, a bunch of boxes, and we had to like play in the event, um, for the first time using that set. So like they didn't know operatives were broken because they hadn't had a tournament with it, you know.
Right. Yeah, and in the future tournaments, they tended not to use the same set. Like at Worlds 2000, they had like the Jabba's Palace sealed deck, but that wasn't legal for kind of the main event you were part of. So, but this one it was the opposite. This one, yeah, brand new deck. So they sent this to you in the mail, or you got the cards when you arrived, or how'd that happen?
They sent us all in the mail ahead of time, and we actually, I remember I invited Johnny Chu over to my house like it was a sleepover play testing because we were in 15, 16, and we tested operatives, but we didn't think they were that good because we only would put like 5 or 6 in the deck, instead of like 20 or whatever you needed.
Right.
Um, yeah, but it was still a blast. I mean, I got it was so opulent and extravagant, this world championships. Like it's in Virginia Beach, right on the beach, and this hotel that the hall that we played in is probably 2 stories tall, floor to ceiling glass looking out at the beach. They had a buffet for us next door all day that you could play your games and go right to the buffet. And then at night they threw us like a gala event, for the winners and stuff. It was wild. It was that is probably one of my right up there with the 2000 Worlds, like premier best experiences ever.
I mean, I guess you met new players, you make new friends there, because you were with your mom, or did your mom like stay away and let you just hang out with the guys, or like how did that go?
So I spent most of the time with Hayes Hunter because I met him at the airport, and then like he ended up just sitting next to me on the plane. He ended up trading seats with my mom, so him and I could talk the whole time.
Nice.
Plus, you even though it's players from all over the world, it is still kind of a small community. So like I knew a lot of the players there. Like I knew all the East Coast players. Um, even like the people who won like the Kashik regionals next door, like they were still like local guys to us when we traveled. So like, like TJ Hol I think TJ Holman was there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like I was a stranger to per se, there, and at the same time, every competitor was just excited to be there, so everybody was making friends with everybody and stuff.
I'm really glad because I mean there's a report online about some players like threatening like I guess Darcy or whatever, like one of the designers, about the operatives, and like there's a story about them at night. Players were like yelling in the hallways. Anyone got Keshik operatives.
So if I am sure that happened, I think I mean I played Hunt Down and Hidden Base. I went 4-4. I lost to everybody who played operatives against me. you know,
Okay.
um, yeah, I didn't know they were broken until I lost my first game. So it was something that was not on my radar. Um, I do remember being disappointed, um, like that night after the whole event happened, being like, "Ugh, that kind of stinks." But also at the same time, like I wasn't like a top player, so I was just happy to be there. And you're 16, you get to travel. You know, it was despite the operative shenanigans, it was a phenomenal experience for anybody who went there. And if they said it was a bad experience, then I can't even I don't even know what they're saying because just the way we were treated. And nah, it was great. It was great.
Okay. No, I'm glad you had a positive outlook. So, and this was like 2 days. It was 3 days, or like how long was this event? You stayed for the entire time, or how was it?
Oh God, they fly us out on a Thursday or Friday. Then we play Saturday is, the 8 games. And then back then they used to cut to top 12.
Yeah.
Like it's not like nowadays. So it would cut to top 12 and then you'd play a 4-game Swiss event the next day. Like that's how it was when I won Worlds too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so Sunday, what did they do? Oh, Sunday they let us. I think we got to. I got to see like Mara Jade for the first time. Like they had that, and then I think they had EPPs. They gave to us on Sunday. They were like, "These are coming. Why don't you take a look at these?"
Nice.
So they had a bunch of side events for everybody. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I mean, and everyone that participated, you got like some swag, or you got some foil cards, or you got like an oversized card, or like what did you get for kind of being an attendee there?
Oh, we all got a medal. I have it packed away. We got like T-shirts and backpacks and binders. Um, yeah, and like we got the EPPs ahead of time. I know on Sunday. Now that you remind me, on Sunday we all played a sealed deck where we all got to see like Luke with lightsaber, Darth Vader with lightsaber. Um, yeah, yeah, and then just all the special edition cards, stuff like that.
That's cool. Okay. So yeah, so you played Hidden Base, you played Hunt Down because I guess early on you thought those were the most powerful ones. Didn't have time to look at operatives, right? So, and you know,
The funny thing is too is like you got to remember like now we have so much time and we play on Gemp all the time and like it's a little bit easier to figure out the meta.
yes,
But back then there was no time to figure this stuff out. We weren't playing online or games going 100, sharing ideas across countries and stuff. It was like was what decks did me and my buddy who lived down the street thought was good. Um, so yeah, we just thought like, oh, Hunt Down looks cool. Hidden Base looks cool. Let's play that.
and to be fair, without the operatives rule, those actually are pretty powerful decks, in many ways. So you weren't wrong either.
And like objectives just like changed the game. Like I think objectives kind of made the game so much better.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
really
agree.
elevated.
All right, cool. So you had a nice, ending day Sunday. Time to go home. For
Yeah.
World's Day. So what happened? What happened after you got home? Just straight back to duck building, or because I know there's like operatives. Like I don't know how quickly they issued errata. You know.
Pretty like within a week or two. And then like after that, it just goes back into like I'm in high school, and then like we're just playing locals every Saturday. And at the time, we all like then we all started to care about our decipher rating and thought that was like the most important thing in the world. Like the quest to get to 2,000 decipher rating and stuff like that. And then there would be there was always a big tournament in the Northeast all the time, and the Rampo cons were happening all the time every year. Those were awesome too. Like Scott putting those on back in the day is just unbelievable. Um, yeah, so just kept playing and playing every weekend, losing to Johnny Chu mostly every weekend.
Right. Okay. So you said you were at the 1999 Worlds as well. So you had to qualify for that one again. So
No,
no.
this is super interesting.
Okay.
All right. So 1999 was the first time they ever had a play-in event. So they had all the regional winners and open winners qualified, and then they said, "Hey, guess what? Show up. There'll be this event, 8-game event, an 8-game event the day before another 8-game event." So it was like crazy,
Hmm.
and they would take the top 2 players from that. And I'll never forget. I forget who finished first and second, but Brian Twilliger finished third. I finished fourth. And I think like 100 people showed up for this. Like everybody who did not qualify for Worlds, because Decipher Con was just like it was the event of the year. So we went to the 99 Worlds. We the all of Team Albany, we're all down there together. None of us qualify. I don't remember if Johnny True qualified for that Worlds or not. But so then all we do is spend the weekend at DecipherCon playing in like ECC sealed deck tournaments or whatever sealed deck tournaments. And the funniest thing about that Worlds is there was some sealed deck event that I played in, and I ended up getting second. And so first place got a set of Japanese Premier, a full set, and second place got a mint full set of Japanese Hoth. And so at the time, I didn't know it would be worth $5,000-6,000 now. So I remember as a 17-year-old immediately getting my Japanese set of full Hoth, being like, who wants it? And somebody gave me $150 for it, and I thought I was the wealthiest kid in the world. Yeah. Oh, in '99 they were doing the Grand Slams. That's when they started giving away uncut sheets for tournaments. Yeah, they had a lot of fun stuff back in the day.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think that this is like Premier Indoor, right? And then I think Enhanced Cloud City came afterwards. So it wasn't legal for that event, but I think
Yeah.
Light is sealed, like you said there. So there's a deck, a Premier Indoor deck with your name on it. It was you were called this, what do you remember what you played in 1999?
No, so the one, are you talking about the one on Gemp?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, that was my World's 2000 Day 1 deck.
Yeah.
So that was,
no, for light side Premier Indoor. There's a Premier Indoor light side deck.
oh, is there?
There's a Premier Indoor. I don't know where it came from. When we get to that, I'll share. Fine, I'll share my screen.
Oh man, okay.
I don't, I don't know if this was your World's 1999 deck. I don't know where it came from, but it got put there. So if I go, it's one of these decks. We'll talk about the other ones later. So it was this one, right? Unless this is a different Sokol. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we used to. This was the Team Albany Y4 mains deck. Yeah, this is the same deck we played for like 2 years straight. Yeah. Yep. That was just Y4 mains. That was a popular deck. Everybody played that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That brings back a lot of memories.
Okay. Y4 mains. What do you call it? Y4 mains. What does that mean?
So it would start the Yavin 4 throne room, and then it would start what is that? Combat response?
Yeah, correct. Careful planning. You do the farm, you'll do the swamp, and you're doing the nudges, right?
Yeah,
you're correct.
Yeah, and God, we just.
I get it. Yavin 4 mains. Okay, I get it. We used to call it TRM nowadays. I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, we called it because Yavin 4 and then just main characters.
That's true. Okay. All right.
Oh man, that brings back a lot of memories right there.
Okay, tell us. Go ahead.
No, that is a well-oiled machine right there. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the R3PO. We see him sometimes, not as often, but back when U3PO would be there. But so I mean, I guess how did this deck compare? I don't know. I don't have the dark side version. Do you remember what you did for dark side? What you did back then?
No, we probably all played a lot of Hunt Down. So Team Albany back in the day for like, until Death Star 2, I think we just played a lot of like this and then Hunt Down. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. That is a list.
Yeah. No, cool. All right. So okay, so that was 1999. You played Hunt Down. So how did the tournament go? So you played the day before, but you already qualified for the 1990 Worlds anyway. You just played the day before for fun.
No. So then none of us qualified. So we ended up just going to 99 Worlds.
Okay.
And just that was the first time they had. The reason I talk about that is because that was the first time they had a play-in event.
Okay, gotcha.
And then so that's why so many people went to the 2000 Worlds as well, because they had the play-in event. And they took a much bigger number of people. So yeah, that kind of leads into like how the whole Worlds 2000 happened.
Okay. So for 99, did you like stay and watch the final events, or did you
Yeah, we stayed all week. DecipherCon back in the day, it wasn't like it was the World Championships, but then there were just so many other people there that like even if you weren't playing in the Worlds, there were just cool tournaments going on all weekend. So like 99 was when it started, like Decipher Con. I guess there were really only two, 99 and 2000. It wasn't just like a world championship event. It was like a Star Wars convention, Star Wars CCG convention. Like, yeah, you can
Yeah.
play in the worlds, but if you don't qualify for the worlds, there's a bazillion other tournaments you could play in that have cool prizes. So,
Cool.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So did they have like, CCTVs? Could you like watch like the matches going on? Could you walk behind them or like how much could you see like what other people were playing, the championships, or did you have to keep your distance? How was that?
So those 99 and even in 98, it was all roped off. And then when it came time to watch the finals, they projected it on a screen for everybody to watch. Um, yeah, but like at that point, like specifically 99 Worlds, like we're just a bunch of young kids who want to hang out with our friends and play sealed deck. Do you know what I mean? After not qualifying for Worlds.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think at that point we were just like didn't care what was going on.
Sure.
We were just having fun with our buddies. Um, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, okay, did you learn anything new? Because I guess you said you made fourth place. So were there new strategies you didn't think about, or did your honing in Albany like prepare you like you pretty much knew the meta?
No, no, I think it was more disappointing. No, actually, I take that back. We were excited. Brian and I were, even though we didn't qualify, we finished third and fourth that day. Out of the 100 people who showed up, we were excited because they still gave us a little glass trophy, a
Nice.
little plastic trophy. So we were on cloud nine, because we are like, we got our glass for the
That's
weekend,
awesome.
and yeah.
All right. So, okay, so Worlds 1999 ends. You go back home. What happens? You just keep grinding. You keep going every week still. Did anything
Yeah,
change
we so
after?
we just keep playing. We go to all the regionals. We go to all the opens over the summer that we can go to. I think we go to Origins or something. And then I'm a freshman in college, so then I go off to college. Um, you know, it's really funny because like this was college before like computers and everything. You could before laptops in the classroom and stuff.
Yeah.
And would look back at my like notes from like going to class, and I would have like notes from class, but then in the back I would have like deck lists, like you know, would stop paying attention in my class and would just be working on decks, to get ready for Worlds. Um, yeah, and then so basically just another year of locals and opens, and then that's when I think they had the Grand Slams when they started giving away the uncut sheets. Um, yeah, and then it just goes into the Worlds 2000.
Okay. So how did you qualify for Worlds 2000? How did that work?
So me winning Worlds is like the most unbelievable story. It shouldn't like so many small little things had to happen. So Worlds 2000 was interesting because they had, all the normal people who qualified and opens and stuff. And then they have day one. They open up day one and they say, we will take, I think they take the top 38 that year. So I think what it was is they had 42 other qualifiers and they wanted to have an even 80 people play in the world championships. So they were like, all right, we'll just have day one and we'll take the top 38 players. So everybody is, everybody in the world who did not qualify shows up at that tournament because every single person is like, I just got to finish top 38 and then I get to play in the world championships. It's that easy. Um, and I play horribly and I finished like 36th out of 38. So I barely squeak in. And then everybody who didn't qualify, there were, this DecipherCon was huge because, there was the Star Trek World Championship there. Was there Young Jedi at the time? I don't think there was Young Jedi.
I think there was Young Jedi. I think there
Then
was.
I think the Young Jedi World Championship was there too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, again, anybody who wasn't qualified, there were a bazillion other events to play in. So yeah, so then I qualified that way just by barely sneaking in. And then I get into day two And that's when I play that Bring 'Em Before Me deck that they have on GEMP, the Responsibility of Command, Much Anger in 'Em deck.
Okay.
And so I had this really terrible hidden base mains deck that I was playing. And I remember Friday night was day one. It's like 11 o'clock at night or something. And I'm like, oh, my light side deck is so bad. And Johnny Chu just gives me he's playing as well, but he's like, hey, Matt, this is my light side deck. It's hidden base X-Wings. I think it's really good. So if he doesn't give me that Friday night, where am I? So I switched to that. And then I get like incredibly lucky. Like I go 6-2, and it used to be on differential. I went 6-2, and I had like a plus 12 differential. It was like terrible. Like I lost 2 games by like 30 each, and then I won all 6 games by like 5 cards every time. It was crazy. Um, then I finish 8th out of 12 day two. I mean, and they used to disqualify people for deckless errors, like
Yes.
typos.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, not only does Johnny Chu have to give me his deck, and then I have to get incredibly lucky playing that day, he gets disqualified.
Right.
Yeah, he was 6-1, so he was a lock for the next day, and they disqualify him. So like all of a sudden, one of the best players in the world gets disqualified.
Yeah.
Like that. Like that. I would if he had been in the next day, would he be? Would he have not been the world champion?
It's possible. Yeah, for sure.
And then so like that night, he makes my light side deck for me, or helps make it. Brian Twilliger makes my dark side deck, the ISB Sandwhirl.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so he is the author. So you knew about ISB Sandwhirl before then, or you
There's
didn't?
a whole story behind that too, so that people got to understand. So, um, in our local community, there was a Philadelphia player, and people know her, Kim Caden. Everyone
Mhm.
knows Kim.
Yeah.
So she used to play these like ISB lockdown decks, and she would play like ISB Hoth with Ice Storms, or she would play the ISB Sandworld decks, and like we knew how to beat that because whenever we would go to a tournament and she would be there, like we had to have a plan. Like oh man, ISB is going to be there, ISB Hoth or ISB Sandworld, you know, how what's the game plan? So we knew how to beat it, and we also knew how hard it was because every single one of us had played her and lost by 30 cards by getting locked down. So basically, what ended up happening is we're sitting there at like midnight, and it becomes very obvious that it's like, hey, if you're going to win the world championship, Matt, you're not going to win the world championship like on skill. You're going to win it because you went crazy. So we were like, you want to do it? And Brian's like, I'll make it. And we're like, all right, let's do it. So then the next day, day 3, we cut to top 12. We play round robin. I play my ISB Sandwhirl against Clint Hayes. Game 1, I crush him. Then game 2, I play Yannick, and I think that's when I find out that I don't have a Luke in my deck.
Yep.
And it's like, that sucks. Game 3, I win. Game 4, I win. And like all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, I'm 3-1. And then here's what gets even better. If people might not remember this, but Kevin Shannon was also in that world championship. And if you've ever played Kevin, you might know he's kind of a slow player. And so he had a timed win his last game.
Yes.
So back in the day, a timed win was only worth 1 point.
Right.
So if he didn't time out his last game, the final should have been him versus Yannick. So like all of a sudden, it's like I barely squeak in day 1. Johnny Chu gives me a deck. He gets DQ'd. I get lucky to win day 2, finish 8th day 2, and then I get crazy lucky day 3. And then just Yannick didn't have any answer for the ISB. Actually, nobody had any answers for that deck.
Yeah,
But
no, and I like to go into there, kind of go to some of the reasons because I was looking at Yannick's deck today. We go talk about that. So, and you're right about the timed win. You're right because you're right. Shannon on differential, he would have been higher than you, but you're right. He got the
yeah,
1 point instead of five. Did you know that at the time? Was that or that like an afterwards thing? You know?
that was an after the fact thing because
Okay.
we're sitting outside. So what happens is after you play your games, we go outside the door and we're waiting. We were playing in a private room, so we're waiting outside the room. Like, oh my god, Matt, you're 3-1. Like, you have a chance. Like, but it all depends on the matches in there. And there was a decipher guy named Juz. He comes out the door. I'll never forget this. He comes out the door and he looks at us, and we're just like, "Am I in it? Am I in it?" And he's like, "You're in it." And we go, me and the Twilligers go screaming down the hall. Um, and of course, we all thought I was going to lose and get second at the World Championships because I didn't have a Luke. But then the flip side is, if I had a Luke, I probably would have beaten Yannick earlier on, and then like, who would I have played in the finals instead? You know what I mean? Like, it's just so
Maybe.
many like small things.
Well, cool. I think that's a good segue. Let's kind of look at these decks, and I think that'll kind of help people that are watching understand. Let me share my screen again. I think this will help bring this to fruition. So, all right. So this is the deck you ended up going with. And this is kind of a modification of kind of like Johnny Chu's X-Wing. So he
Right.
helped you make kind of this numbers version, or you kind
So
of did the numbers, or how did that come about?
so the day before, uh, on day two, I just played like a standard version that floated like a forest and EPPs. Like, it wasn't anything special.
Okay.
Um, and then I think it all just goes back to like, hey Matt, you got to play something crazy, otherwise you're not going to win. So it's like, all right, well, let's just change it to inserts. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god, this is like a total. And also too, at the time, everybody was playing Brigham before me.
Right.
And so this actually matches up quite well against Brigham before me.
I tend to agree because I think even for the counter like cannot hide, right? Yannick was not playing this card, but he did not have the simple anti numbers counter. A lot of times people just go for the standard three of mobilization points,
Yeah.
arrest order, and it's usually oppressive enforcement. It's usually the third one, right?
Right.
So no, so it was your idea to do numbers, just because you wanted a way kind of to win faster because this is differential, like you mentioned. Like you not only have to win your games, but you have to win it by enough. If you didn't win by enough, you might not make the cut. So are you thinking like numbers will help me win by a ton of force, and that's kind of the way to go all in or go nothing, or help me understand that?
So, I mean, the reality is like, we're all burnt from the weekend, and it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. I gotta, it's probably two in the actually take it back, it's probably 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
and I've slept 4 hours each night. So none of us are operating at that high level.
Yeah.
you know I think we just switched where we're like, ah, let's just go play inserts because inserts are cool. Like, I wish I could tell you there was some grand, like, genius moment, but there wasn't. Yeah.
Okay. If you were going to redo this, if you were going to play a hidden base X-wing number or a numbers deck again, would you use X-wings, again, or would you change some of these
Um,
cards because you didn't have like R2D2, like R2D2, he costs a little bit more, but he's like he's like
a
five,
five.
Destiny. There's also R2. He's also expensive, but he's a six. There's also
Are
Jedi
you
Knight Luke.
so
Like how would you have done it differently if you had more time to rest, think, whatever?
so are you talking about like, if I could give people advice for the retro
Yeah,
event?
I mean, imagine someone watches this and like, wow, I want to play X-wing numbers or I want to play in-base
I
numbers. I'm just
wouldn't.
thinking like, like looking back in hindsight. Obviously, right, you had low sleep, you won the championship, right? So I mean, no, people can't really criticize you other than maybe forgetting a loop, but stuff
Yeah, I
happens.
mean,
So
if I could just change this deck, I would just take out one droid and put in Luke.
sure,
But like, going into the retro event, I don't think you can play this deck because, like, the meta is more known and it's evolved, and everyone's gonna play You Can't Hide forever. Um,
I would not say everyone will. There are always a few decks like Brad Kibble. He did not play You Cannot Hide Forever in his
Mm,
latest World Champion. Like I mean, a lot of like some decks will not have certain things. Now, sometimes people are saying, well, I may have like, I may have like
resistance.
ATST pilot, and maybe they'll think like, well, he has three, and I can kind of do numbers, or they'll have things like resistance. So, I mean, sometimes people do kind of cut corners. Like you cut some corners in this deck, right? You got no force CDPBs. It happens.
Yeah, I did cut a lot of corners in this deck. Wow. It's so funny to look at this deck because I haven't seen this list in a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. It's, you know what? It's so funny. Like looking at it now, it's like, this is a terrible deck.
Yeah, it's a little bit risky because you have no docking bays. Your opponent has to use a docking bay to deploy these. Like these are not capital. Like okay, you have one
Right.
capital, you have two ships, so you could have deployed them to your ships. Did you ever deploy them to ships, or just deploy them to docking bays straight away? Do you remember?
Everybody's docking bay.
Okay,
Everybody's docking bay.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was a point in Yannick's game where he did a force lightning on you, and he also
Yeah.
did a sniper on you. So
Right.
I don't know if I only saw that one game. I don't know if you ever got force lightning or snipered, or if you just tended to kind of blow off. Do you remember any other games that you won or lost, and how those went playing
So
this?
this game, this deck, as cheesy as it sounds, like the deck would just win by like putting a bunch of X Wings first turn at Endor because it moves there for free.
Right.
Start draining for one, and then
Yeah.
just flip as fast as you can and drain for three at Kessel. And like, I don't know why, but at the time, that was somehow a winning strategy. Like, I can't even like. So it seems so obvious now, where you're like, this is a bad deck. Like in the retro event, I think this deck should get destroyed.
Well, there's things like Monarch, right? If people have Monarch, or people have Battle, right? Battle Order. I mean, there's things that can slow you down, right? A Monarch will eat your
Search and
lunch.
destroy.
There's counters. I mean, X-wings are still good. I mean, organized attack. You still have, the standard chew for organized attacks. Like it's hard to kill these
Yeah,
things, unless you have a
yeah,
lot of grabbers. So it's still resilient.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, or maybe I'm just trying to talk everybody off it because I have no strategy for it.
that's okay. That's all right.
uh, yeah, that it's so funny to see that.
Yeah. Well, and there was a 2009 retro event, right? So Worlds, kind of 2009, you had a retro Worlds 2000. This was the deck. I think you played this on day two,
Mm.
and you played it. You
Oh
played more of
yeah,
a
maybe yeah.
yeah.
More of a standard version.
You
Yeah,
played more of a standard version. You kind of had a double EPPs, but okay, that's fine. And
yeah.
yeah, you had the force steer. Yeah,
This is probably more close to what I played the first day of Worlds, and then so we just went to bed that night and took all the EPPs out and put in inserts.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Let's talk about Sandwhirl. So this was your 2001. So obviously you have the kind of I guess it's day three. You have the top 12. So this is is the top 12 deck the same as the final confrontation deck? Is that how it works?
yeah,
You don't get to switch?
yeah. You don't get to switch.
Okay. All right. So this was the deck you did in 2000. So maybe I've never seen anyone on GIMP play this deck. Maybe you can kind of walk through this ISB strategy, right? So people who haven't heard of this kind of Sandwhirl strategy, maybe you could kind of go through that a little bit.
It's so funny too. Like we played a Frozek because we didn't have enough outer rim scouts. Like
Okay. Yeah, he's
you
not
know,
great. He has one ability.
no,
So I was wondering
right.
why he did that other than mistake. So literally you just couldn't afford the rare, didn't have the rare. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's why. Yeah. So the way this all works is you literally just get out, a Tatooine site, a desert, and you put an ISB agent in like one of the walkers, and you just literally follow the sand whirl, and like yeah, like that's it. That is the strategy.
Yeah, and you're taking advantage of the fact that the flip side of this is, have an
Plus one
non,
grain.
yeah, it's a minus one. So, right, so if an ISP agent's there, it's minus one. Your ISP agent has a plus one force drain, right? So it's -1 for them, +1 in the same area. And
So
yeah,
it was really good at the time because a couple things. Against hidden base, you could, put a generic docking bay or a generic desert at like half their systems, and like it would turn the system to a drain of zero, because you really only have to worry about Kessel, um, which you could Den of Thieves the Kessel drain for a while. Um, the other big deck at the time was the Y4 mains, the throne room with the nudges.
yeah,
And like, if you don't know how to play against this deck, you lose that game very, very badly. Um, you get your mains deserted on Tatooine, and they get Sandworld up. And then the other big deck, which was Yannick's Dagobah deck, that didn't test.
yeah,
Um, so actually, what's really funny is I played. I think Raphael Assailan qualified that for the
yeah,
day three, and I played him, and he did the Dagobah testing with. But they would train somebody like Boshek,
yeah.
and
Actually,
so.
yeah, yeah. I might, maybe I have his deck here. Hold on, let me see if I have it here.
But that's
I
what the set for stun is in there for. It's really funny. So what you would do is they would train Boshek, and then you would track a 5 and you would set for stun him, and they would lose the Jedi test. Um,
Let me see if I have Mr. Aslan. Okay, yeah, he had one test. Yeah, maybe this was his deck.
yeah,
One
that looks like
test. He did have Boshek. Yeah, one test. And wow, yeah, hardly
so.
any sides here.
So you look at this, and it's like this was what all the Canadians were playing, and so it's like, how does that beat ISB Sandwhirl? Because they have nowhere to go, and if they leave their guys on Tatooine, eventually the Sandworld catches up to them.
Yeah,
You know, so that's how we led it. We were like, Y4 mains are going to put their mains on Tatooine and get Sandworld up. This deck, they can't. They have zero answers for you. Um, and then hidden base, you could beat hidden base.
yeah, I like it. Yeah, at most, okay, yeah, this version has Anger Fear. Yannick didn't have Anger Fear. He has Uncontrollable Fury, but you didn't have Evader.
Yeah,
So yeah, their damage potential against you is limited, and he had no other systems, so he can only go to your system. So yeah, beautiful.
yeah, and
Absolutely
I
beautiful.
had the insert canceller, right? Did I not play that? Yeah,
You did, and it's interesting, yeah, because I always thought a cheese player is aware of the cheese, and you'll see this a lot of times if their light side plays an insert, they're like, oh geez, what if I play a carbon copy of my deck? I'll be screwed. So they'll put in this card. Is that
yeah.
what
Did
that
I
kind of is?
play? Did I play a resistance in there? Let's see. No. So
You
I
didn't.
must have lost. So I guess his only damage to me was the anger, fear, aggressions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So yeah, interesting. So any other card choices you had set for stun? I don't know if you got to use this much. Or
So only against Raphael to because he trained Boshek,
yeah,
and I tracked a 5 and sent Boshek back to his hand so that the Jedi Test 1 was gone. Um, but then after that, every other card in there is you know, a typical card you would play for the deck. Oh wait, no. What's the card next to set for stun?
advisor.
Other way.
Oh,
Other
protective
way.
telepathy. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's answer.
yeah, that's anti-anger for aggression. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You have three.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Okay. You were prepared. That's awesome. And I like too that you don't see a lot of dark side undercovers. I like the fact that you included these. This was another way for you to kind of lock
yeah,
down the game.
yeah. So that's all this deck was just a lockdown game. But like, you know, if you know how to play against it, you can beat it. Like, you just got to maybe neighbor them from one side of the desert to the other, or if you have a Tatooine system, you got to leave your capital up there so you can, shuttle your guys up to dodge the sand whirl. Um, so like it goes back to us. We had played against this deck a bazillion times, so we knew how to beat it. But like in Orlando, nobody else knew what to do.
that makes sense. So in 2009, you played an updated version of this. You changed your cards a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I took
yeah,
out the Fozek, right?
Yeah, you got rid of Fozek. You got rid of Fozek. You put in. You have an Ozil. Yeah, still Ozil there. I don't know why you got rid of this
Yeah,
guy. 5D6. I love this guy because
yeah, he was great.
so I don't know why you deleted him. I like him personally, but
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why. I will tell you this: that deck went 1-1 in the 2009 event.
okay.
I ended up finishing, and that was a crazy event. I ended up finishing. They cut to the top 12. I finished 12th the first day, so I barely made it in.
Yeah.
And then I think I finished like fifth, maybe after day three. I think Hayes Hunter won that event.
He did win that event. He got first
Yeah,
place. Yeah, it was hard to see because like the results like had question marks except for top one and top two. But yes,
yeah.
correct.
What did he play at that event?
He was playing. I'll open it up here. I'll show you what he was playing actually because I do have it actually. So he was
Okay. I would
playing.
bet Throne Remains would be my guess.
It was a version of Throne Room Mains, and it's very similar to. Maybe I'll do. Is it Hayes? Yeah, it's Hunter. That's what it is. So Hunter, this is what he played 2009. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
50 million senses, couple altars, throne remains,
And then
and
I would guess Rallitier Operations for Dark.
that is correct. I'll grab his real quick here. So if we do Hayes 2009, so 2009 and Hayes.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yeah. He did a troopers deck. That's what he
yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, these are all really good stuff. Like for the retro event coming up, I'm probably going to play Rallitier Operations. I think it's the best.
supposed to tell people that, sir. Shh.
Come on. You know what I'm going to play? You know what I'm leaning towards is the sample decks, like Kevin Shannon's Rallitier Ops. I like that.
It's pretty. No, I mean, his deck is pretty good. Yeah, Kevin Shannon. Yeah, his deck is pretty good. And
Yeah,
if you look at, let me make another copy here. If you look at what Brad Kipple played, it's very similar to Kevin Shannon. I think he took Kevin Shannon's and modified it. So Kipple 2024, yeah. So yeah, so this was Kevin Shannon's deck. Had a little bit of numbers here. I'm sure you appreciate
yeah, I
that.
like that.
Yeah, a little bit of numbers. He had two altars, a sense, but tramples, ton
Yeah,
of guys, ton of things. Brad Kipple, very similar, right? Just minor modifications here, but very
yeah,
similar. More grabbers than his, but no, Kevin Shannon's is a good base. Brad Kipple didn't change a lot, in all honesty.
yeah. I like this deck. If I was giving advice to anybody, I would play this deck right here.
Yeah, I think it's generally good. The only thing I might say is, personally, it's kind of a toss up because Emperor's Shuttle is really good.
Sure.
The only disadvantage, of course, is it loses to X-wing laser cannon.
Yep.
Whereas Dreadnought doesn't lose to X-wing laser cannon, but sometimes like you really want this extra destiny. I really
Yeah.
love that. So, but yeah, no, it's a good deck. Good choices. You could potentially do like Karita, instead of Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk is two force, but the advantage is that if you start your hand, you can get Wakilumi and Karita. But I like that the
Mhm.
fact that he doesn't start with Karita, he starts with this card, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of times TRM decks they don't they don't have their own system. So like Yannick's deck, which we'll go over, and just like Raphael's deck, they don't have their own system. Like if you never deploy a system, they can never deploy their Falcon. A lot of these decks, it's kind of how
Right.
they go. So cool. All right.
Yeah.
So if we go
And then I don't
back,
know
go ahead.
for light side. Uh, as trashy as it is, I'm probably gonna play Brian Hunter's.
Hidden mains.
Yeah, yeah, in the sample list.
Yeah, it's pretty good too. So if we look at that, hidden mains. Yeah, hidden mains is pretty good.
Yeah.
Andy Talaga thinks this is a worse version of TRM, but it is nice,
He's right. He's right. It is.
But you have less zeros in the deck, so you have less of an issue of randomly getting a 0 when you're trying to like swing your lightsaber or whatever. So there is kind of that advantage of this kind. So Dr.
The
Torch,
only
yeah.
the only other one I would play would be my Bring Him Before Me deck would be the only other deck that's posted within the samples that I like.
Yeah, so I think I have that here. I think I have that here if I go back to here. So yeah, so there was two versions of this. So this is the version that is in GIMP. But
Yeah.
this is what you played in 2009. Do you know where this deck list
Oh,
came from? Like 2009 you played this, but this is what GIMP says.
I don't know where Gemp got that from. That's probably right. And then what was the 2009 one? Oh man,
This is the 2009 one you played. Yeah.
hmm. They're pretty close. No Mara Saber.
Yeah, no
Uh,
Mars Saber in this version. Yeah,
yeah, I
you
like
had
this one a little better.
you like this one better? Okay. All right. Yeah, you had more
Yeah,
Vaders in this version. You had, I don't know, you decided to backdoor in this version. Assuming this is a legit deck, I don't know. I mean, but
yeah. I mean, the other one probably was limited by the cards I had at the time, right? So like in 2000, that probably could have been my list because I didn't have extra Vaders or you know like like this one right here. Oh no, this one had more Vaders, huh?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I have your 2009 list. I had to kind of read some handwriting here. Let me see, Let me see. Can I read, where's Matt's handwriting? Let's see. Let's find it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is, I had to go through your handwriting, sir. Is this how, yeah,
Wow.
Obi-Wan's
Look at
lightsaber? I don't know. Yeah, this is Nudge, but I know these cards, so I can read through this, but
wow.
yeah,
That's amazing.
it is.
That's hilarious. I
Yeah.
remember we did used to have to do that. And we'd all like wait, we'd all be so excited for the next day when they would dump like the big PDF list and you could go look at everybody's deck lists.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So this is a deck. Yeah, I've seen a few people in GIMP. Dark Deal 44 has used some version of Much Anger in him, Responsibility Command. Also good combo, get it off. You have some, guys there that can help you with that. All right, so let's kind of talk a little bit about, yeah, you're talking about kind of the results here, right? And so we had like the first day, you're right, tons of people, right? Maybe this is the top 38, right? But yeah, you were, right here, right? And you're right. Your memory's good. You won by 12 exactly. And yeah, I don't see you fighting Aslan, but I don't know. I don't know if you
No,
remember.
this is day two. This is day
This
two,
day two?
not day
Okay.
three.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is when you're using your kind of your throne remains. What you're saying, you're bringing before me. Is that what this is?
Yeah, so this is day two, and I'm playing that Bring Him Before Me deck and that X-Wing deck. Yeah, so I lost to Bastion and Kyle Kraft. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. And you just felt that, yeah, you scraped by, but this just wasn't this. You were not winning by enough. Is basically what you're saying.
I mean, if you look at these games, right? So like 3, 4, 14, lose by 24, lose by 13, 12. I won by 1.
Yeah.
Like, look at that.
Yeah.
And then win by 9. Like, oof, oof. Yeah, none of that was good.
Okay. So we have the next day, right? Next day, and exactly what you said earlier, right? You won three of your games. You fought Yannick, lost, and you had this, 2 points per win, six, just like you said. Kevin Shannon had a timed win, right? Modified win here, like you said. But
Yeah.
yeah, you made the top two. Pretty amazing. You beat Kyle Craft because he didn't win by enough. So,
Right?
you
Look at
know,
that.
yeah, pretty amazing.
I don't remember playing Brian Ripito. That's crazy. I don't
Yeah.
remember what that matchup was.
I have
He
I
was
have
playing.
no idea because on the decipher they only list your decks and Yannick's decks, and I don't know why they have Raphael Aslan. I'm not complaining, but like, yeah, these are not 3 and 4, but they have their decks for some reason. So I am
Yeah.
curious what the rest of the people played. You know,
Yeah. I want to say Brian. Maybe. Yeah. I couldn't tell you.
yeah, and I think there's. Do you know who T Sokol is? Are you related to this person, or is this like?
Yes, no. So he was another guy. I think it's Tom Sokol, I want to
Yeah,
say.
you're right. Yeah, Tom
Okay.
Sokol. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was funny because he was a pretty decent player, I think. And back when I won that regional in '98, Johnny Chu thought there was a maybe a mistype, and actually Tom Sokol had won. He was a guy who used to post a lot of decks. Before Deck Tech, there used to be something called monarch.com for decks.
Hmm.
He had some stuff on there for that. Um, yeah, but no, I never met him. Not related.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So I just want to share some pictures with you. So
Sure.
final event. I know it's
Yeah.
grainy, but that's you. That's you on the left. You
Yeah.
know, baseball cap. Yannick also had a baseball cap. He had the Yoda there, right? Judge has his laptop there, right? No timer. It's forever at 60, right? They're saying like in the video, like there's no timer. Players are, free. Were you worried about there being no timer? Were you worried that your opponent just might take forever or not a concern or
No, so uh, I think the video is maybe an hour and a half that took us to play both games.
yeah.
You have to understand, like I thought I was just going to get crushed. So I think for an hour and 25 minutes, I thought I was going to finish second in the world championships. You know,
Hmm.
so like I don't think I was nervous. I had nothing to lose because I thought I was going to play from behind the whole game. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
All
but
right.
no, but we were never worried about the timing or anything.
Okay. And what about the fact you played second? Like, did Yannick find your hidden base in the first game? Like, and he knew you were playing numbers in the first game, so you know.
I can't even remember. Um, I can't remember. As crazy as that sounds, and also as crazy as it sounds, I've actually never watched the full video.
Okay.
Um,
Well, you can share with your
yeah,
kids. Like, look what Dad did. uh,
you know, it's funny too. Like, actually, I sometimes I don't like talking about it too because like I don't know who I was telling this to the other day, but like sometimes I feel like the guy who was like, "Oh, my best time was high school football," like
right.
yeah. So I haven't watched it. I don't remember too much other than like the last couple minutes when I knew I was going to win.
Okay.
Uh,
No, no, I get you. I mean, obviously, you lived a full life. You have a family now. You have a career now. I mean, obviously, there's more life than Star Wars, even though you enjoy it. And I understand. I get it. We're not here to gloat, but no, I just thought it
oh
was,
yeah, no, I mean,
yeah,
I also like I played so many awesome games and tournaments too. Like not like I haven't won. I just mean like I've enjoyed so much. Like, um, yeah, God, I was like 18. I was 18.
amazing. So you both of you start with your baseball
Yeah,
caps forward, right? And then at one point, right, something happens here,
yeah,
making some moves, right? And then Yannick flips his
yeah.
over, and then you flip yours over too, right? You saw him flip, you flip. So I guess that meant, you know,
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you guys are playing. Okay, now you guys got the flip caps, serious business. This judge stepped in the way for a little bit from the camera, but whatever. It's fine. Yeah, and so you started, one of these points, you put two X-Wings to Endor. So,
Uh,
you have a lost spot. I can't tell if that's your hand. I don't know if you just deployed X-Wings and you were
I
like, I don't
probably
have
did
a,
like I probably did like all power or something and like got a bunch of X Wings and moved them over. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I mean, you had 50 million senses, but, you know,
Or I mean organized attack. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
had
That's
organized
probably what.
attack. You could have sensed it, but maybe it didn't matter. I did. I can't see everything. Maybe you had a force left for barrier. I couldn't really see very well. You deploy one of these
Yeah.
projection of Skywalkers. You're trying to block drains early on. You put this card here, our lovely Corellian Corvette that deploys at a minus penalty, and then later on he deploys a second sight, and then you are just gonna match him again, put a second one, so you're still trying to lock him down, and then in one turn you deploy three droids. That's super grainy here, but you deploy three droids there, right? Trying to get your numbers out, and then he
I should have put
deployed.
them on the
You probably should have put in the spiral. That would have been
Yeah,
smart. Yeah, probably should
yeah.
have. Yeah, because he used his force lightning on one of those there with the emperor, and then later on he also used a sniper, like I mentioned earlier. So he kind of went from 3 to 2 eventually. He did deploy Boba Fett. You did deploy Dreadnought, and then moved a bunch of X-wings. Like you moved them away from Endor. I guess yeah, you left Kessel here. Moved away from Endor to confront him. Um,
Well, probably because I have order to engage out. Yeah.
yeah, I think that is order gauge. It's hard to see, but yeah, that looks like order to gauge. Yeah. So yeah, no, you're. I mean, you're trying to play your top game despite everything. So um, you lose a couple of you basically lose a couple of droids. You play another one, same place. Never tell me the odds. I think your first one get off. It's off camera, right? But you only had one droid there, so I'm assuming maybe you got one or two forks, right? So it didn't have a big impact. You play a second one. I didn't see a third one there, and basically after this point, it's kind of over. So I think you initiated one final battle. I think he had like a first strikeout. I think yeah, this is first strike. So you got one force back, and ended up kind of a 20 force differential, kind of going
Mm.
into game two. Um, so I mean, I mean, obviously game two happened very shortly after. You're short on sleep, but you lost your first match. Did you just have like low expectations, like you were fine with it, or how did it feel at that point?
I'm trying to remember. How did I feel? Yeah, I think I thought I was just going to lose. I just didn't want to like get embarrassed on TV. I think at that point
Yeah,
or on the screen,
yeah,
for the people that are there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but like I think you can see right here, right? Like he has nowhere to go, right? This was why that ISB Sandwhirl was so good.
yeah. No, yeah, he deployed Dagobah. He deployed Vega. He did it sideways. Is that legal? I have no idea, but he did it. He did it sideways. Yeah, and you very quickly you put like three guys here, two guys here. It's hard for me to know which ones you did.
Right.
But yeah, but you deployed to Krita and you deployed Spaceport Docking Bay and you deployed a desert there. And yeah, very quickly he deploys a Luke there, and I think you projected telepathy. I think you stopped the battle or whatever it is. Um, and then basically what it is yeah, he deployed, I think this is the Endor. That's Endor
Mm,
Docking Bay. I think this is Cloud City Docking Bay, right? Because he had two docking bays in his deck
right.
to go with, which is not super normal nowadays, but that's what happened. And so very quickly, you deployed Lars Moister Farm, you deployed a desert, and you deployed a spaceport docking bay for Tatooine. Very quickly, you shoved the other cards around, and then you're going to start to move your ISB agents over to the new system to get away from Luke, so you don't have to fight him.
Yeah,
Is
sounds
what you
about right.
did, and then you deployed your AT-AT. And by the way, you're very fast. You're very fast playing. Just so you know, you're in your game then. So
No, I'm still an incredibly fast player. Like I play very fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's a skill that served you well. I mean, yeah, I mean, you did not get Kevin Shannon. You did not have any time wins or time losses. So, credit to you for that. I guess maybe it's fair to say your decks weren't super tracking heavy. Like Yannick's deck was super track. He had two on the edges, two off the edges.
Yeah.
He had a lot, mentally intensive stuff, but he got through. So yeah. So anyway, so you're chilling there. You left these guys there, still -1. He deployed, a lightsaber and Luke. He did Gift of the Mentor, put it there, right? So he's trying to force train you, get whatever bonuses he can. Camera keeps shifting. It's hard to know what happens, off camera. And it kind of continues. Then he kind of moves Luke with lightsaber over to his Endor because he doesn't want to have
Yeah.
the -1 because you flipped very early, right? So he's trying to get you as much as he can. And you stay there. You keep draining. Um, and this kind of continues on for, just a little bit here. And at some point, I think you played, what's it called? Abyssin Ornament. He grabs it. And you, before any battles came, you deployed a Sandwhirl. So you did not
Yeah.
wait for him to battle. You didn't say, "Well, I'm going to let you battle me on the secret Sandwhirl." You had a preemptive Sandwhirl,
Right.
and
Yep.
then
That's how it
you
goes.
and then you moved, and then basically you're going to be moving over soon. Okay, yeah. So he deployed a or a Marco. I think this is the RA 5D7. I think this is the guy that's a -1 by default because
I
this is
think so.
yeah, it's Cloud City. So you're trying to block his drain from Oromarco, trying to shut him down. Um, and at some point he's going to use sorry about the mess, and at some point he's going to kill that off. But right now, he's have Luke here, he has Oromarco here. You're getting your drains for
6
yeah,
for
about
6. Yeah.
6 right now. Yeah, you're getting drains for 6. You have 2 sand rolls. So you're not doing bad here for a while. You deployed ability.
Yeah.
Um,
That was what won the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You deployed to your side. Later on, you kind of moved on to his side because it's supposed to go on his side.
Yeah. I think one turn, like, we forgot to enforce it, and you'll see me like tapping it on his side.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. That's why.
So I think he deploys Obi-Wan. I think he tries to start a battle there. I think he did a little damage. Then he moves back over here, and this is where he's drawing 2 destiny. He's going to try to yeah,
Yeah.
caught Doc and Bay out of Bay, and he's going to try to, sorry about the mess. He killed that guy, got a little blood against you, but then I never saw him use this card again, right? I never saw him use sorry about the mess a second time. Um, Deployed to Karita, but the problem is you have an ISB agent under
Right.
Sandworld, but then Karita it doesn't do anything for him. So he's
Right.
deploying to counter
I,
ability, but who
right.
cares?
And satisfy battle plan. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It does help satisfy battle plan, but the problem is that he can only really drain at one place right now because
Right.
I think you put an undercover agent on Endor, right?
Right.
So you undercovered him, so he can't drain here. His sorry about the mess is gone. So he can only drain you one place here effectively. Yeah, it's a free drain, but it's one place, and I think you can
Yeah.
cancel his drain. So
Yeah. I
his
retrieved an ISB agent too. So
correct. You're right. So even if
yeah.
you drain of one, if you retrieve an ISB agent every turn, it's still net 0 for him. Absolutely. So, and then you're moving the sand whirl, and then sand whirl's moving. Okay, fine. You're moving your guys with the sand whirl. You're always protecting your guys under sand whirl. The truth is, he was actually out of mains by this point. I'll show the decks later, but Han and Leia here, Obi-Wan and
Yeah.
Oromarco, and then Luke. He doesn't have anyone else to play. He really doesn't. So um, you probably could have deployed to here. You didn't know what is in his deck. You're trying to be cautious, but he was kind of tapped out as far as characters at this point. Samuel's move, and then yeah, and the video said drain of 9. Maybe it's because you were counting ability, which should really been his turn, but you were draining for 7 by my count. Is what it
Sure.
was towards the end, and net 9 a turn because I don't think he could deploy more cards ability. And then some point you played a second Abyss into tree 4/4, so I'm guessing you tracked a card somehow. I'm not sure how you knew. I don't know how many like outer rim scouts
Yeah.
you have, but you were able to. It looked like 4/4 when I watched the video. Able to do it, and I think it was at this point he was asking about your deck. Like he wanted to know how many cards you had, right? And he has like the judge to count, and you counted. You had 21, and at one point he was asking, well, what happens if we tie? Do you know offhand how the tiebreakers ran? Like if it was -20 in last game and this game was +20, do you know how they would handle a tiebreaker in
I
the World Championship?
I don't. I don't. But I think he also realized like there wasn't going to be a tie. Like I think. Yeah. I don't remember what was said, but I think it was like I think he could tell that I had stuff in my hand. You know that I would play like an Abyss and Ornament, things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
by my count at the time, you had 2 cards in your hand at one point, and then you had like 21 force, but then you retrieve 4, so that bought you some time. He was
yeah.
only draining you for 1 at most, but that was being canceled out, and it used his only sorry about the mess, right? So
Yeah.
um he like tapped the table, he put it in his hand, and you reached out first, you grabbed his hand, And
Yeah, so basically I remember what happened was is he activated all his force and he tried to play like a one of those six cards, um, like Fall of a Legend or something.
yeah,
And because he had no reserve deck, he couldn't play it.
okay, yeah,
So then that's why they kind of at that point I asked Judge if he could do that, Judge, and he said no. And at that point, he shook my hand and called it quits.
yeah. Yeah. So call it quits. Yannick concedes. He did shake your hand. Like, he had a reputation, like online, I think a little bit, like he's saying, like he thought he would win. But he did shake your hand. He shook the judge's hand. You shook, like, both judges shook both your hands. So he was honorable. He was a
Yeah.
gentleman. It sucks to lose for sure for anyone. Yeah, and so, like, right after the kind of video ends shortly, like, you're talking to a judge about, how it goes. Any memories about, like, right after it ends, like, like when did you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna win, or like was too blurry, or tell me about that.
I mean, I didn't think I was going to win until like maybe a minute before that. I can only tell you that like we're playing in a private room and I can't hear anything from anything.
Yeah.
But at one point, when he shakes his hand, I can hear all my friends screaming finally in the next room. Like that was an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
any other thoughts? Like, what happened? Like, I mean, like, you did a short interview. The video cuts out, so I don't know what you told the judges or like the reporter. Like, did you get to meet anyone from Decipher? Like, what happened? Like, once this video ends, like, did you get like a
Oh
plaque
yeah,
or?
we go have an interview, like talking to like the commentators. Yeah, I mean, I was also like, I just wanted to hang out with my friends. So like,
Yeah,
and plus, all the Decipher people were accessible all weekend. So it wasn't like we didn't see these people or they were like mysterious figures. They were just like they were like normal people walking around the convention all weekend. So like we would talk to Juz all the say hi to him or whatever when we saw him. Um, Yeah, I mean, I was just excited and wanted to go hang out with my friends after.
nice, nice. Okay, so and you got like a world championship swag? Like, you get like a plaque or anything, or you just like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what was the prize for winning?
Oh well, I got the big plate up there, and then what I won was
Big plate. Where? What big plate? Show me. Oh, that big plate. Okay.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay. Rebel Alliance Star Wars. Okay. Nice.
and then the next.
I can't see it. What does the inscription say, if you don't mind?
Oh, it just says 2000 world champion Matt Sokol.
Nice. So they engraved
Uh,
it for you there on the site or later?
no, I didn't get that delivered to me until like 6 months later.
Okay.
And then the next day we had the world championship team tournament. Um, And these are the best trophies I've ever had. So me, Johnny Chu, Brian, and Chris Twilliger played in the team tournament. We all got these little like pyramid.
Yeah.
And when you combine them, they all fit perfectly into a nice pyramid. So then we won that. So it was the best weekend ever. So I won the world championship, and then we win the team championship the next day.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it was great.
Okay. Cool. I guess for an addendum, let me share my screen a little bit again. I just want to look at one more thing. So obviously, Yannick lost that game. And you know, let's so if we're gonna look at his deck now, fair point, he did not have Skywalkers here. This is just the best GIMP approximation. He had the other card, which is not in GIMP. Frozen Assets is what he had. Slightly
Right.
better because it can stop them from using cards.
Yeah.
It kind of kills bearer, but yeah. So he didn't have any extra systems that you could drain on. So he had two sites here. He was very focused on, like I said, two off the edges, two on the edges. He had two throw me other charges, two fall the legends, three. Oh
Wow.
my gosh, three fallen portals. Oh my gosh, man! Like, You know, he really, 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 really wanted to battle, and your Sandwhirls gave him no chance to battle.
Yeah, so we knew this was a known Canadian thing.
Yeah,
Like all the Canadians played this, so yeah, it's just another reason why we did the Sandworld deck.
yeah. So, I mean, do you think that if he, had maybe been a little bit more balanced, like, maybe if he had like a Kessel or if he had like a Coruscant, you know, um, would that have, made the difference so he could have like force strained
Yeah,
you a little bit,
yeah,
somewhere?
yeah, or in a Blount, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody that night thought someone was going to play an ISB deck the next day, right? So like,
Yeah,
it was Bring Him Before Me or Ralatier Ops were the decks. That was it.
right. Oh, can't do line sight for that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Those are the strongest ones. And I mean, this deck seems tech for Reltier Ops, right? I mean, it has narrow escape. You can move them away. You go to the docking bay, which pretty much all Ralph does. He has 3 fallen portals, so he's trying to really punish you for starting a battle. And
Yeah, I mean, he was also just like skill level ahead of the curve on everybody. Do you know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
you could have given him, a pile of anything and he would have, been in the finals with me, you know.
yeah, yeah. Because the only thing I would say is like if you look at kind of like decks nowadays, like there've been like a few more like tier M decks. So I think like you talk about mind what you have learned. So like in 2021, there was like let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, I had that one. There was another mind we have learned. Let me see. Mind we have learned in 2021. Yeah, like Terran did. Yeah, like Terran, he had a mind we have learned. Okay, he did do one test, although I guess Raphael did it. But he had like a Kessel, he had like a Kifex.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he had I know. To me, and he had anger, fear, aggressions, which okay, you had 3 anger, fear, you had 3 projective telepathies, right? Um, but this deck would have been more balanced against your Sandworld
Oh
deck,
yeah,
right?
100%, 100%. This
Yeah,
would have done significantly better.
yeah,
Might have even beaten it.
possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, no, just you knew your opponents well, and you were able to capitalize. So no,
I can't take the credit. Like Johnny Chu and Brian Terwilliger are the reasons I won the world championship. Like wasn't me.
yeah, no, it was awesome. So I think we went over that. So I guess I have a few viewer questions. Okay, yeah. So right, okay, your world championship, you go back home, you get the flag. How'd your family feel? Your classmates, or did people know that you were world champion, or is this kind of a secret? You're in college at the time, or what was that like?
No, I told everybody. I think my dad was super proud, my mom and my brother. I don't think anybody it was shocking, Um, but then in college I told all my friends in college, but then like, then the weekend comes around and it's like, oh, what party are we gonna go to? You know what I mean? Like life moved on pretty quickly,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I have 3 viewer questions. Out of all the
Oh,
mains and all their personas, what is your favorite persona?
Son of Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, because like um so long ago, like, just having a guy, Moon Less Than Four was a big deal back in the day, and he could pull a lightsaber. He was like the best card I'd ever seen in my life. Plus, I'm a big Luke Skywalker fan. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Why do you think that hidden base X-Wings is so popular in GIMP tournaments?
Is it really? I didn't know that.
I mean, there's a bunch of people. 2009 had a bunch of people use hidden base X-Wings or EVO X-Wings as a little bit there, but no,
It just
X-Wings, hidden base X-Wings PDS2 era does better. Like in the Reflections 2 era, they really tried to do like the Dark Lighter spin combo and
right.
they really tried to like make you like the, matching pilots more. They made better ships in some ways.
You know what? It matches up well, and I hate to say this, but it's also just easy to play.
Yeah.
You know, Like it just does the same thing every time. You know, that's why I think we're all getting to the age where we're starting to slow down a little.
Okay. What do you see as the pros and cons to having locked decks in tournaments?
So I might spin the question just a little bit.
Okay.
One of the things that I like about Star Wars is there are so many different ways you can play the game. So like one of the things I like about like a pro is like somebody could make a deck with Outer Rim Scouts and Sandwhirls, and it's not just Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader with lightsabers. I love that about this game. And that the cons of that is like it's a pretty crappy game for some people if they, you know, don't match up well against it. And I brought my Luke Skywalker lightsaber deck and I lose to Outer Rim Scouts and Sandwhirls. That stinks.
Yeah.
But I love the variety personally.
Okay. All right. I got one more question which I kind of forgot to go to. So let me share my
Yeah.
screen one more time here.
Yeah, this is a crazy long interview. This is the longest time. I don't even think I talked to my wife this
Oh
much.
my gosh. All right. Well, you could talk to her more tomorrow. Okay. So if you go back to the Decipher era, this is what they call battlegrounds, right? Basically, a battleground have force icons, and they have a few exceptions. So holocytes, Dagobah locations, shielded off, Destarlu, Boshuda at Audience Chamber, Galactic Senate, Pod Race Arena. Those are the battlegrounds, right? In the PC era, there is, one conspicuous item addition here. Can you guess which one it is I'm talking about?
Yeah. So what happened is that came out later. Yeah. Um, yeah, because what was going on, it wasn't because of ISB Sandwhirl. What was going on was people were using it in hidden base. And so they would pull what's the system that pulls the desert?
It is yeah, I'll grab it. It's this one. Um yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Curdo 3, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Curdo. Yeah, I like that site. Yes, absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
this
So
one.
that would pull a desert. So
Yep.
there was that. And then also the PC at one point before the reset made Tusken Raiders some really good for some reason. And so all these cards they made two virtual Tusken Raiders. They're not cards anymore. They were pre-reset.
Okay.
And so um, there was a Sandworld deck with Tusken Raiders that was pretty broken. Um, that they had to make the Sandworld, you know, not a battleground.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
wasn't me though.
it
Wasn't
was
me.
it wasn't you. Okay, so good change or bad change for retro events?
Bad change, right? Like, come on.
All right. Yeah, because I think your deck's much less playable. Yeah, because if Honor the Jedi worked, I don't think you could have won your Worlds 2000 game if it was
No.
under the current rules. No, because Honor the Jedi would have stopped all your protection under Sand World, basically.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I personally like that type of stuff, but I know a lot of people don't. So
Okay. Awesome. Well, I know we've talked for a while. Any last thoughts, last stories, or last things you want to share?
no, this was awesome. I appreciate the video, like the trip down memory lane. That was really fun. Thank you.
No, it was a lot of fun researching. So, and there was some data. Like there's some amazing data points I could find. So, that was a lot of fun researching, and I appreciate your answers and your candor, and I think people really like it.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, take care, sir.
All right.
All right, bye
Oh
bye.
my gosh, thank you for the interview. That was great.
You're welcome, sir. Take care.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All
Bye,
right,
Bill.
bye.